Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
What's up, everybody? I'm Bogz.
We're here to talk about the first two episodes of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which dropped on Amazon Prime Video. It's been very well documented that neither of us were looking forward to this show going into it. We've said in multiple videos that the trailers didn't look good. So that's how we felt going into it. But I think we came out of it both on very different sides of the aisle. I came out of it actually quite enjoying it. I really did like it. Bogz, I know you had said that you maybe didn't feel quite the same.
No, I think it's an abomination of a show.
Oh, okay. So just tell me how you really feel then. Well, since we're both on such opposite sides of this thing, I want to just kind of give us each other room to just say our piece. And then if we find some common ground, that'd be great. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and go first. Just what was it about it that you say the word, abomination. So like what was hitting you so hard that made you just really just hate it?
Multiple things, really. But, just to make everyone aware, going in, I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan. Not too much knowledge-wise in terms of you haven't read the books, just from watching the movies potentially 100 times over, if not more, maybe arguably the best trilogy of all time. I know it's that good. Very dear to my heart. Love the story, the characters, the themes, the messages, the whatever sets, the costumes, the locations, whatever, the score. And this was, I wasn't, we both were not sold previously on the trailers. They were pretty bad. Some of the CG, some of the just quick images of the characters and what they're trying to do with Elrond and Galadriel. And what I'm hearing, obviously, this isn't of Tolkien's writings. He didn't write anything, to do with this story or plot. So very loose, I think, loosely taken from an appendix, possibly. I'm not 100% sure, but
it's taken loosely from the Silmarillion and the appendices. But other than that,
the
yeah, it's
appendices,
got
that's the word.
yeah.
From the everything bothered me, Mike, literally. So from even how the actual dialogue itself is too modern. It hasn't got that Tolkien magic. I was watching it throughout and I was comparing House of Dragons, which I also was not looking forward to. I was comparing House of Dragons to this in my own head, and House of Dragons looks like Citizen Kane compared to this. Honestly, the story arcs, the characters, I'll say the things I did like were probably, sometimes the CG looks good, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes the sets look good and things like that, and some of the creatures sometimes looks good, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, the Galadriel character is absolutely horrendous. Like, she is the epitome of a Mary Sue. From the opening kind of 9 minutes of when she's a little kid and it's explaining the whole brother situation. That wasn't terrible, but that could have been so much better. They didn't show anything from like the first age, no actual battle, all the kind of things we did see, like with the elves and the red in the water and stuff. That was in the trailers. So it was nothing fantastic. It ended with, her climbing with the ice and the knife thing. Again, that's in the trailers. So there was nothing epic about the opening kind of monologue of the show. And then we immediately get to her like cutting like trolls' heads open and smashing through walls and like I couldn't believe what I was watching. Watching the original Lord of the Rings, you'll never ever think that character would be like this. So I had a problem with it. She is the biggest problem in the series. She's also horrible to every character as well. Like, I know she has a chip on her shoulder because of her brother, but like she just wants vengeance and she just wants to seek Sauron, and it just almost makes no sense. And it's so quick as well. Like, every scene is just it's so fast paced. You don't spend any time with any characters. There's no development. There's so many characters. It's so confusing. It's hard to follow. I did not mind the first episode as much as the second episode. I think the general consensus is probably the other way around, but For me, because I just made sure to try to pay attention more in the first episode, of what's happening, what the story is. But by the second episode, I think it was more action heavy. The first episode was definitely slower. The second episode was more action heavy, but it was too overboard. Like, I didn't have a clue what. And when I think she jumped out of the ship and she started just swimming in the open ocean. Like, from that point, I checked out. I think I must have picked up my phone. I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, and even in the first episode where all of her team kind of left her, they're all guys and they all kind of put their swords up and just left her. Like, I thought, what is going on here? It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it's just kind of, it just summarized for me what corporate investment is when they have their hands on a property. Like, it just looks like bankers are making these, like, bankers, corporations employ bankers employ people that want to push certain things, and it's all over this. It's all over Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. It's all over Marvel, especially the Disney Plus series, and it's just and the movies as well, bar No Way Home, I'd say. And it's all over this as well. I found it really cringe. And yeah, it's I can pick a couple of scenes here and there that I thought were cool or I didn't mind, but overall it was a really, really, really rough watch. I know expected, but it was actually worse than I expected. I really, really found it hard to follow along on the second episode. And yeah, and just how annoying Galadriel is with every character. And yeah, I can't stand her, to be honest. So that's my biggest queries. Yeah, like you said, tell me how tell you how I really feel. Yeah, I really, really, really do not like it, and I'm pretty confident in saying I won't be continuing with this show. I thought it was awful.
So for me, as far as my relationship with Tolkien goes, I'm more on the super casual side. Like I really, and I'm with you. Like the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, greatest trilogy of all time. I mean, there's no mistake. I mean, that thing is a masterpiece. The Hobbit movies, the less said about them, the better. I think they're pretty atrocious. I've read the original 3 books and The Hobbit each, I think, twice. Never touched the Silmarillion, never touched the appendices. One of my exes was like the world's biggest Tolkien fan. She tried to get me, and there's certain things I'm just gonna say no to. It's one of those, it's one of those like parts of like fantasy. It's like same with Game of Thrones. It's like I enjoy Game of Thrones. I'm not gonna lose my mind. Like, it's not something I'm gonna get like super into the lore of. I'm just kind of there to enjoy the entertainment of the show. It's a good show. I'm enjoying it for the entertainment value. It's kind of I am with Lord of the Rings. I get super deep into stuff like Star Trek. I'm more sci-fi than fantasy as far as my preferences go. Yes, I thought the marketing for this show was abysmal. I mean, I was ordering stuff from like Amazon, like, that I needed for my house, and it was the packaging was plastered with watch Rings of Power, and I was getting emails from movie theaters like, we're showing the first 2 episodes in theaters, come watch this show in theaters, even though you already pay for Prime, so why would I pay to go see it in the theater now? It just screamed like, we spent a lot of money on the show, please somebody come watch the show. So I was not looking forward to it going in, and we have seen this before with movies where a really great movie will have a terrible set of trailers, or a really bad movie will have great trailers. I'm looking at you, Transformers franchise. So I was not anticipating much of anything going into this. I really found myself enjoying a couple key things. I really enjoyed the kind of world building of it all for me, like getting to know that this is the state of the world we're in. This is not the Middle Earth that you're probably accustomed to. We're learning more about kind of what the different continents and stuff are, where things are located. That felt very Game of Thrones to me. That is one of my criticisms about this, though, as I will say, is it does feel like a little bit like Game of Thrones light. There's even several times with the music where they have these music stings playing, and then my first thought was, that is just Reigns of Castamere. Like that is Reigns of Castamere, because I literally just watched The Red Wedding again the other day. That is the Reigns of Castamere, like to a T. So it's not, like I said, I like that I didn't love it. I do have some criticisms. You know, Galadriel didn't bother me quite as much. I would have liked to have spent more time with her over the ages rather than just going from child to commander of the army. I'd like to see that story, that journey a bit more. Because it is kind of weird. It's kind of like what we've seen in the past, where we go from Batman is watching his parents get shot and flawless vigilante. Like, what's interesting is the story and the journey of how you get there. I did enjoy episode 2 a lot more than episode 1. Episode 1 was fine. I thought it was very slow. And with episode 2, I enjoyed, we got the most world building with that because we spent a lot more time with the not hobbits. What are they called? The Harfoots. So that sounds right. Something like that. The not hobbits. We spent more time with them. You know, the hobbits weren't always my favorite part of Lord of the Rings. Sometimes they could be a little grating. They're fine. They're harmless, but they're a little grating. But I loved the stuff with the dwarves. I thought the dwarf stuff was really neat. Going inside the mountain, the endurance test. There's a lot of like organic humor that comes from the attitude of the dwarves. I mean, we always remember Gimli in Lord of the Rings was full of one-liners and was fantastic. I will say one thing I'm struggling with, and this is more of a me thing than anything else, is we're focusing this show on 2 characters that we already know, and that's Galadriel and Elrond. And after so much time spent with seeing Galadriel and Elrond played by the same 2 characters, now seeing them played by 2 brand new people is a little jarring. I am having a slight hard time adjusting to, like, really, this is the guy that becomes Hugo Weaving? Okay, but it's again, that's more of a me thing than anything else. But no, the CGI is better than it was in the trailers. I get, like we said about She-Hulk, I blame a lot of that on the way YouTube compresses the video quality. It looked a lot better watching it on my laptop today. And it is a commitment of a show. I mean, these episodes were about an hour and 10 minutes each, and they're slow paced, but they're slow paced kind of in the way that a Tolkien story usually is. Thinking back to the books, in the Two Towers book, there's like an entire chapter that's just Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn taking turns singing a song, and that's fine, but it's a lot. It doesn't move the story along too much. So yeah, for me, there was a lot of this that I did like, and especially going in as more of a more casual Middle Earth fan, someone who's not as invested and is kind of just looking for just an entertaining fantasy show. I found myself enjoying it enough that I'm going to come back for more, but I'm also still like kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, okay, but like, when does this get really good? Because right now it's just, for me, it's decent. Like, it's better than what I was expecting, which maybe also helps a bit as well, because I expected, for me, an absolute shit show, which I know is how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, so when you say that, it is, so if you just took Lord of the Rings out of this, in terms of the lore of it, and if this was just a sci-fi fantasy movie, you know, this makes like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe looks like the Citizen Kane or the greatest movie of all time or whatever, because yeah, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. Like, what is the plot, or what is going on right now in this story? Like, yes, she's angry at Sauron for killing her brother. Okay, you know, her king, you know, her best friend, apparently, and they're not best friends. Like, I'm sorry, like that, you know, when they were explaining, like, you know, because I'm your friend, and the way she's behaved, no one believes that they're friends. And they're telling her to drop it, or like, you know, move on, and she's, no, it hurts in here. Pathetic, absolutely pathetic. What unbelievable, poorly written, awful character development. I did like the dwarves, to be honest with you. I did like the costumes, the makeup. The king, I think he only had a line or two. I thought he was great. Again, it was only a couple of minutes he was in, but yeah, I agree with that. I did like the dwarves, the little we got of them. I shout out Lenny Henry as well. Lenny Henry is if anyone doesn't know him, he was the I forgot what the Hobbit, the alternate.
Harfoots.
Yeah, he was the black guy with the grey hair. He is probably the biggest ethnic minority stand-up UK stand-up of all time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now there's dozens of them, all off his back. In the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, him and Billy Connolly, I'd say, were the biggest names in the UK. So he's carried a lot on his back. So he's kind of been missing a lot from mainstream stuff. So nice to see him. And yeah, other than that, and like I said, him and the dwarfs, I kind of liked the dwarfs for some reason. But yeah, like the absolute ridiculousness of this show is grating. Who's likable in this show? Who are you supposed to cheer for? I don't know. Obviously didn't get much of Sauron, just an image with the helmet.
Yeah.
It's just like putting Vader in a scene kind of thing. Yeah, I was really, really disappointed. Uninteresting. Yeah, I did think of a number of points that you were, whilst you were speaking there, but kind of forgotten. But yeah, no, I'll remember them in a second. But yeah, numerous issues, to be honest. Yeah, like I said, it was worse than I was expecting.
Two things one thing I touched on, one thing both of us didn't touch on yet. One, what did you think of the stuff with the Harfoots? And we have this other subplot with this elven knight and this woman, and which I guess is that's setting up for kind of the main
the healer
plot.
woman or something. What is she?
Yeah.
To be fair, the guy, I thought he was probably the single. Oh, I know the 2 points I was going to make. Right? Yeah. Okay. To be fair, I was concerned about his character from the trailers because he literally has, even his hair alone is just perfectly shaped up, which is ridiculous for being in a Lord of the Rings series. And he wasn't as annoying as I thought he'd be. There were much more annoying characters than him, I'd say that. So, but the things that I was going to say was that the CG, some parts are okay, but mostly it is like early 2000s video game look. And I was thinking throughout this, how is Fellowship of the Ring, released in 2001, filmed in the late 90s? How does that CG look better than this series CG? We're in 2022. They spend hundreds of millions every episode. How is that CG better than this CG? How is their set designs better than these set designs? I don't believe this was filmed in New Zealand. I could be wrong. Someone correct me in the chat, but maybe that is a contributor. I don't know, but like that was just, I was baffled by it, absolutely baffled. Hundreds of millions every episode, and it was like a well-financed fan fiction or fan movie or that kind of thing. So, and the hair as well. The hair from a lot of the characters bothered me. Like Gladio's brother, he had better hair than me. He had a great comb over and a quiff, and I was like, what is this? Imagine if Aragorn had, like a great kind of Brad Pitt looking comb over. It'd be ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, just from the little things to the big things. And yeah, when she jumped off that ship just to swim in the ocean hundreds of miles away from anywhere was the moment I decided I will not be continuing on with this series. It was that bad. Yeah, the first one was slow, but I was slightly intrigued with the whole Sauron thing. Are we going to see Sauron fighting? Is he going to talk? That kind of thing. They did trick me with that. But yeah, the amount of negatives just kind of piled up, and that sealed the deal.
So so allegedly we are going to see some Sauron because somebody was cast to play him in the show, but him not as Sauron, his first form, this like human or elvish form or whatever he's in, when he helps the guy because we
in the monologue, I forgot the opening monologue. Yeah,
helps forge the rings. Anyway, touch on what you mentioned. Like, the budget of this is between 1 and 150 million per season, which means that the show itself is going to cost over $1 billion, making it the most expensive show series in ever made. And looking on the wiki here, yeah, it was shot. They shot it in the same locations they shot the original Lord of the Rings movie. So they did. There's still a lot of green screen, I noticed, but all of like the actual physical locations they're in, the fields and all that, those were shot in New Zealand.
You also mentioned before that Elrond,
Yeah,
he's not Elrond. He doesn't remind you in any way, shape, or form of Elrond. He doesn't look like Elrond. He doesn't sound like Elrond. He wasn't the worst actor in the show, I'll say that, but you're absolutely correct, mate. It's not you. It's like fact. It's like basically, it's totally unbelievable that is Elrond. And how tame he is, even though, we know he was a general and a war hero, and Galadriel was the kind of diplomat, but now they've kind of swapped it. I mean, who are they trying to kid? I mean, not me. But sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, you're fine. I was just pointing out some extra stuff. The actor playing Elrond is Robert Aramayo, who I'm not particularly familiar with. I know he's in a couple episodes of Game of Thrones. He plays young Ned Stark. But beyond that, I haven't, and I don't remember him in The King's Man. I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now. I don't remember him in The King's Man, but I have to go back and watch it again. The actor who played the elf you were talking about, Ismael Cruz Cordova, he's done a lot of stuff. Like he was on Sesame Street for a while. He was on an episode of The Mandalorian. So he's been around kind of the nerd.
I think he was one of the bikers, maybe that looks familiar. You know, the
in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, do you remember the cool bikers? Yeah,
I know what you're talking about from Book of Boba Fett. No, he was in the episode The Prisoner. That's the one where he hooks up with Bill Burr to break into the prison. That's from that one. No, I know you're talking about though. So yeah, I mean, very different opinions on this show. I haven't looked a lot online to see what other people are saying. I haven't watched any other reactions or read any other reviews yet. I kind of wanted to watch it on my own and have us get our thoughts out before, mostly because I didn't want to risk anyone else's opinion like affecting mine, which can happen sometimes if someone you hear something and you go in with that in the back of your head. So I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna keep watching it. Like I said, part of me is still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop a little bit because of just how horrendous those trailers were. But for me, as a very casual watcher of Middle Earth stuff, I found myself enjoying it. And obviously you felt completely the opposite, which if you're as big a Lord of the Rings fan as you say you are, I mean, I can see why you would probably be more critical of it, have more different things that are going to affect you differently than they might affect someone like me, who's just kind of like, cool, swords, elves, neat.
No, I'll tell you what it is, Mike, right? Not to go too deep into it, but for example, it's the messages that they're sending. So for example, Galadriel is almost like an OP action hero in this, when she's punching through the door and she's slicing these, it's like her male kind of counterparts cannot defeat these kind of monsters or trolls or orcs, and she can just slice the heads open and whatever. And like you're pushing this thing with us. And the original Lord of the Rings, okay, obviously like the Fellowship was all males, but the women are an integral part of some of these characters and the overall story. For example, Galadriel, how useful and aided Frodo and the Fellowship, giving him the tools, literally lifting him up when he needed it. I've got Aragorn's Liv Tyler's character.
Arwen.
Yeah, Arwen, yeah. How integral she is to his character and journey and what he was doing. And she, in Return of the King, lifted him up, as returning, to him and sacrificing her, her kind of immortality for him, showing how strong she is. And the girl that was I forgot the character's names, but in love with Aragorn, and then she kind of killed the Night King, wherever it's called. Not the Night King, that's Game of Thrones. Yeah, Eowyn, she's the one that, no Michael kill them, and she's the one that does it. It shows how each one of them has character developments with other characters, showing their action scenes. You know, of course, Elwyn saves Frodo in the Fellowship. So numerous amazing scenes with female characters. So the fact that you know there's like some kind of like a narrative that you know women didn't have the action stuff or didn't have important roles in the original trilogy is absolutely fabricated as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that this thing is trying to push it to like, if it's good, if the characters are good and the story's good, then I'm in. It's not. She's immediately an action hero, better than everyone else. She's just on some weird vengeance thing. It's like they're making her like too masculine almost, which is just so off-putting, and it's continuously done. She-Hulk, for example. Now I can name numerous properties where they're kind of destroying much loved characters like Galadriel, like She-Hulk, you know, in the animations or the, you know, the comics, whatever. And they're just the way that they're influencing, you know, modern identity and politics and filmmaking into these themes is so irritating. And which is why I'm not falling for it personally. And I'm sure a lot of people online aren't either, but I understand why you're, you know, it's your opinion, right? You know, why you like certain things or what you can take from the show. But whenever they're trying this stuff, I mean, it's predictable now. And yeah, it was really bad.
Well, hey, we want to know what you guys think. What did you think about the first 2 episodes of this show? How did you feel? Let us know down in the comments. Let us know on Twitter. All of our Twitter stuff is in the description of this video. You can like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We got all kinds of stuff going on. We've got our Brahmastra trailer part 1 review. Reaction is crushing, so please continue. Thank you, love you. You guys helped us cross 100 subscribers. Thanks to that, we're going stronger and keep going. We see your requests for RRR. We're throwing around some ideas. We'll be in touch with that soon, and our Harley Quinn reactions and everything else up as well. Make sure you guys do all that, and we'll see you again here next time for another episode of Off the Wall. Bye.